I can see you over there, just chilling with your friends. I can't believe you're by yourself. You should be here with me, my baby. Been on my mind, baby, lately.
Hey guys, I know it's been a while, but I'm back with another one. My name is Casey. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. And if you're returning, hey girl. So in today's tutorial, I want to go a little bit more in depth of how I lay my frontals down to achieve that two braided style you saw in the thumbnails. So I just want to go through that with you guys today. So right now, this wig is already bleached. The knots are bleached. I have already plucked out the hairline. If you're not familiar with my channel, I do have tutorials on bleaching and plucking out hairlines on my channel. You just have to take a look through, and I'll link that in my bio as well. So for this video, I wanted to it's quite lengthy, more than usual, because I wanted to not cut out much of anything. Like, I'm actually going to show you guys basically everything. I don't cut out very much of anything, just because I just want to make sure that I'm leaving in everything that I perhaps may not find important, but you guys might need it to learn. So that's why. So right now I'm going in with my glue from my brand, Luxe, and I'm putting on about 4 layers, and I'm actually going to show you guys how I put on each layer. And so you guys just have to basically watch and see. So with every layer you put on, you want to make sure it dries well, turns clear and tacky before you add on another layer. So you'll see me do each layer. So the more layers you do, the longer the wig will stay on, the security rather. So obviously, because, well, I guess it's not very obvious, but the more layers you add, it thickens the glue, so it thickens the strength of the hold as well. So that is why I'm going in with 4 layers, because she wants to keep it in for a little bit of time. I think you can go up to I think you shouldn't pass a minute maximum of like 6 layers. I think 5 is good, a good median, but you just have to see and what works best for you, which will take trial and error. So in any case, when one side dries, I just go to the other side. While one side is drying, I'll just move over to the other side, put the glue on that side, and by the time I'm done putting the glue on that side, the other side is usually dry, and that's how I do my layers. I just count to make sure I keep track of how much layers I'm putting down. And you guys, please be generous with the amount of glue you use. Don't overdo it, of course, because if you do too much glue at once, like, then you might, when you go to spread it, it might come down too far. And if the glue comes down too far in your client's face, when you put the lace over it, the glue will still be on her forehead, and it'll just make a mess. So it is always best to go not too far down. A good way to mark it is if you put the lace down on her face before you put the glue on, and then you take concealer and mark off where you think the lace should be cut off. And of course, you're going to cut the lace off where her hairline and the cap, so where the cap ends, you just want the lace to be literally like a centimeter over it, maybe a ½ centimeter over the lace. That's it. Like, you don't want it to be too far over the lace unless your client tells you that they want it more down on their forehead or blah, blah, blah. But most people would like it just to be where their hairline is as best as possible. So I would suggest that you start with a small amount and spread it out and see how far down it goes. And then gradually just add a little bit more and more, because you want the layers to be give a nice hold. So just blodge on just maybe a dab. I hope you can see how much. I'm going to try to zoom in to show you guys. So when dabbing on the glue, you gotta smoothen it out fairly quickly. Like, you can't really waste too much time because the glue does dry pretty fast. So that's why I do one side at a time, because instead of dabbing it all across the forehead, and I always just say don't do that, because then spreading it out might take you a little bit longer, and then one side will dry in the dabs you left, and then it'll be so hard to spread and leave like clumps and things. So I hope that makes sense to you. So Start by dabbing one side, spread out that one side. Then while that side is drying, go over to the other side and dab it on and spread it out. So by the time you're done spreading it out on the other side, then the next side will be dry. So before I press the lace into the glue, because it's not pressed in right now, I want to give you guys a more in-depth of cutting the ear flaps off, because I do know some people did ask for that to be shown. So I'm just showing you guys. Let me do a close-up. One sec. That's better. Okay, so do you see where the lace is actually connected to the actual wig cap itself? It's right there. That's where you sewed on to. That's where the lace is sewn on separately from the wig cap. So I want to show you guys that the lace goes over her ear. So that we need it not to go over her ear. We want it to be like match her hairline, right? So that lace right there, I'm parting out where her ear and where her ear and the hair should separate. I'm parting it out. So through the lace, if you part it, you can see where her ear ends and where her sideburns should be. So that all that hair that's on her ear has to be cut off. So that's why I part it, and that's where the lace should lay right there. So I'm gonna cut right there, and I'm gonna show you guys how I disattached? How I cut it off of the actual cap itself. So it's okay to cut through the lace, okay? Because this is lace that you do not need, okay? And I know it sounds crazy because when I first started, I'm like, I don't understand how that makes sense. How do I cut through the lace without ruining the lace? That part will be cut off completely. So you cut it off of the cap. You're not cutting through the cap, you're just cutting through the lace, right? So you got to make sure you take your time with this step. Do you see that the cap is still intact? Because if you cut through the cap, you're just cutting through the wig. Cutting through the lace, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to cut through the lace to get the wig to fit the way you want it to fit, right? So then that's why it's important that you can see through the lace, so you can see where you need to cut off. So I'm going to do it again on this side. So I just have her hold that side down so it stays in place. So the client will be more than happy for you to hold it for you, because they want to make sure it's actually in the right place as well. So then I'm measuring out this part again to make sure that it's where it needs to be on her, where I want the sideburns to lay, and what lace needs to be actually cut off. And no, the cap will not unravel. The wig will not unravel because the rest of the wig is sewn on, right? Those flaps are meant to be cut off, and the rest of the wig is sewn on. So the whole rest of the wig would be still intact, and you didn't cut through the thread anyways. You just cut through the lace, and then you cut it off of the lace off of the cap. So I actually just wanted to make sure you guys know that you want to make sure that the lace is placed over the glue. You don't want it to be directly sitting on the glue. You want it to be over the glue by like literally less than a centimeter over the glue, okay? Because if it's directly on the glue, the hairline, it gives you less room for mistakes. So what I mean is, okay, so let me just tell you, the blow dryer is on heat setting to reactivate the glue, and then I put it on cool setting to cure the glue into the lace. That's what you see me doing. So heat first just to reactivate the glue, and then you put on cool settings to cure the glue. So anyways, back to my original thought. What I was saying is, so you want to make sure that it's a little bit over the hairline, because if it's directly on the hairline, it would be hard to maneuver. You leave yourself with less room for mistakes. If it's over the hairline, at least you know, okay, this part is not glued down. You can go back in with more glue, which you'll see me do. But if the glue is directly on the hairline, what can happen is when you cut the lace off, there might be some glue on her forehead because it's like directly on the hairline. Like you have no room for any mistakes at all. So unless you're like a pro, then that's fine. But even me, I've been doing this for some time now, and I still do not cut lace direct. I mean, sorry, I do not put the lace in the glue, like exactly at the tip of the glue where the hair ends. I put it a little bit forward so I have that flexibility. So typically before I put the band on, I will cut the lace off. But the lace was a she is so dramatic. I didn't even see that she was doing this. She's so funny. What a character. So anyhow, I don't typically put the lace band on before I cut the lace off. But this time I did because her head is pretty small and the lace is a little bit bigger, so it kind of had a little bulge. So to keep it down and tack into the glue, I tied it down. So I tacked that part down, and so when I take off, like right now how I took off the band, I can see closely where to cut. So some of the ear tab that I would like to keep is not glued down, so I'm just going to glue that down quickly before I start cutting. So instead of cutting the lace directly across, I split the lace in like 4 sections. So I cut like 4 slits, and then I cut off the lace in sections. I feel like it's a lot easier, and you control your speed, right? Like, 'cause there's no rushing. You don't have to rush at all. It controls your speed. And I do suggest that you use if you're going to use scissors, use like smaller scissors than what I'm using. I couldn't find my little baby scissors, and I don't know, I haven't seen them in a really long time actually. So I just ordered some new ones on Amazon. So going forward, my videos will probably have a smaller pair of scissors. But in any case, these work. But you can also use a razor as well. I always say I find that I have more control with the scissors as opposed to the razor, because the razor, although it does give you a jagged cut, I feel like it goes down very fast if you're not careful. So the scissors, I actually have to go in a jagged motion. You have to kind of do a rigid kind of motion with your scissors. You do not cut the lace straight across. If you cut the lace straight across, it will be the hardest thing to blend because it's just a blunt cut and it does not blend into the skin. I apologize for my hand being in the way for this little clip right here, because like I just didn't realize that it was in the way. I just didn't. So basically the lace, some of this hair does need to be cut off. Why? Because it's too far down in her forehead, and I didn't glue it down anyways because I knew exactly where the hairline stopped, and so that's why the glue doesn't come all the way down. So you want to, if that is the case, and you can actually see the glue through the lace and see where it's tacked down and where it's not. Please part it out before you cut it. Do not just cut it, because if you cut it without parting it, there's going to be those short little hairs in between that you don't want. So part it out and then cut it so you have a clean cut. And then again, you can see me going in a jagged motion to cut the lace off. And that's what you need to do. I dabbed some glue on the back of my hand. I mean, you can use whatever you'd like to have the glue rest on, but I dabbed some glue on the back of my hand. I'm taking the back of the tail comb, and I'm just going under the lace that lifts up that I do want to keep, and I'm just putting on a couple layers there before I tack it back down so that it secures it. I just want to say that I did not hurt her. She was watching TikTok and she had a jump scare. Crazy lady. Like, I'm like, girl, you want me to cut off your whole ear? Yeah, so that's what that was. That was just a jump scare. I did not hurt her or cut her in any sort of way. Before I finish melting the wig down, I am going to part the part wherever the parting goes, just so that I can start doing other things while the wig is melting down. So I'm just trying to find the middle of her head. She wants a center part for the braids. So that's what you see me doing now. And then I'll also be parting out the baby hairs as well. So it's important to ask your client how much baby hairs they want, and also like how thick. So some baby hairs, I know you guys are seeing that they are thicker, and then some are lighter. And so my client likes a very light baby hair, although I pretty much parted out a lot more than that, but it's okay because I always end up fixing it later on. But yeah, so you ask them so they know how much baby hairs to expect and that it's not too dramatic or anything that they didn't want. The ear tabs are very tricky. As I'm parting this step, I realized that there's some parts that I did not glue down, so I'm just going back in and gluing them down so it's secure. Sometimes that happens. You see, I'm still making little fine tuning of how I lay lace, so how I lay wigs and things like that. So that's really a simple thing though. You just go in wherever is not glued down. You can see that it's dry. There's no glue there. You just glue it down and tack it down and let it dry a little bit. So I'm going in with my wax stick. I put the baby hairs down first before I put the wax stick on, because I don't want to do it the opposite way, because I don't want the the baby hairs to have any sort of oil in them at all. I just want them to be dry so that it's easier to manipulate. So a hot comb is needed to lay the unit as flat as possible and to mold any flyaways down, and overall just makes the unit just look more sleek and more professional when you use it. Like, I don't think there's a way for you to lay a frontal without having a hot comb. Like, if you have a frontal and you're wanting to lay it, you need a hot comb. So you can go purchase it. You could do a purchase one at the beauty supply store or Amazon. You can actually get one from Amazon as well. Mine is from like a local business. She was selling some hot combs, and so I bought one from her. She no longer sells hot combs, so I apologize, but I can't put the link to this one on in my description. It does go up to 500 degrees, but you honestly don't need one that goes all the way up to 500 degrees. I mean, it does work a lot faster, but you can always just take your time and go through the hair row by row. But I do suggest you get one that goes up to at least 400 degrees or 400 Fahrenheit. I think that's like 200 Celsius or something like that. But in any case, yeah, so I went in with the makeup that I use on the cap, and I'm now tying it down. I use my melt spray from my company. I'm all sold out, by the way. There are other brands of sprays that you can use. You can use like a holding spray that's not too firm of a hold, like even New York, some has some. You can even use Got2b. You just have to use a very light amount. You don't want it to be completely stiff, because Got2b sometimes can flake when it's too much. So you don't want to use too much of any holding spray, just enough to go around the hairline, so to further melt the lace into the skin. I'd also like to mention that please let the spray dry before you put the melt band on. If the spray is not dry before you put the melt band on, like when you do put the melt band on the wet spray and it dries, when you do take it off, it's gonna lift like sticky, like a sticky, it just will be like a little bit messy around the hairline. And then you have to go in and try to fix that, and that's just a headache. And it just doesn't look very clean or professional around the hairline. So dry it, either air dry it or use your blow dryer like I did to blow it dry, and then put the melt band on. So now I'm molding down the part. So I'm gonna section off the two areas that I'm gonna be braiding. I'm gonna first flat iron the part so it's a little bit straighter at the top. And then I'm gonna section out the part that I'm gonna be braiding, and then go through with the blow dryer. So you're just basically watching right now, and I'll come back when I feel like there's anything more to explain. So be sure to part the back out, part some of the lace out, part some of the front out to cover the back tracks, because you need to cover the back tracks. You don't want your tracks showing at the back. So I just parted a very thin line just to go over the back, and then I hot combed it to flatten it down and secure it. So for some reason, my phone stopped recording, and this is why I hate using my phone sometimes, because people call you, interrupt it, and my phone's on silent, so I didn't hear it ring. But in any case, all I did was take off the band, and I'm now cutting the baby hairs. I'm just cutting them. So the longer you cut the baby hairs, the more dramatic the baby hairs will be. The shorter you cut them, the more natural they will be. So I'm just going in and cutting them now. She wants less drama, more just subtle, and that's what I'm gonna try to achieve. After I parted the hair down the middle, I realized that I felt like the plucking wasn't symmetrical, so I went back into this side and plucked it out a little bit more, because I feel like one side is obviously plucked out more than the other. So doing it on mannequin head sometimes is a little bit tricky, so it's always good to just go back in and pluck it out a little bit more once it's on your client's head, which is fine. I still feel like it could have been plucked out some more, but nor here nor there. We'll work with what we'll do what it do. So I'm just taking my really small flat iron. It's not a pencil flat iron, but it gets the job done. Sometimes I use this, or I have a really skinny curler that I use as well. But this was closer, so I pulled this one out. And all I'm doing is just curling the baby hairs up so that it's easier to curl. Because with a wig, like, baby hairs don't adhere the same as if you were to lay your natural baby hairs. It's completely different. Like, the hair is a little bit more stubborn, so getting it curled, at least it goes into the direction, it starts going into the direction you want it to go in when you start molding it. So that's what you see me doing. So I don't usually use that mousse to lay my baby hairs, but I had to use it the other day because I ran out, and I find it works pretty well. Like, it's what I use to braid, because I also do braids. So what I is what I use as a finisher to mold my braids down, and it doesn't have any alcohol in it. So what you need is a non-alcoholic mousse, because if there's alcohol in the mousse, then it's going to lift the lace right up. And that's what you are trying to prevent from happening when you're laying your baby hairs. That's the last thing you want to happen when you're laying your baby hairs. So use a mousse that has no, it says alcohol free on the bottle. That's how you know it is not going to lift the lace or move it. But you still have to move fairly quickly. Now, what I find is that you put some of the mousse on the actual hair itself behind the hairline, and it helps sweep the baby hairs into the hairline better. So that's why I do it that way. So also, I just want to also let you guys know that when the baby hairs start becoming a little bit stubborn to move, just add some more mousse to sweep it, and you have to use a really light hand. When molding baby hairs, it's nothing like molding your real baby hairs. Like, you have to use a way lighter hand than you would. You're like literally just brushing it. You're barely even moving it. It just flows with the mousse. You don't have to like press it down on the client's skin. You're literally just brushing the hair itself very lightly. I hope that you could see how I'm doing it in the video, because that's basically what you need to do. Once I feel like the baby hairs is how I want them to lay, I will put 2 wrap strips down, and then I'll put a looser band on them so that they hold. I want to let you guys know that you have to move a little bit quickly with the baby hairs, because eventually you can lift up if it's too wet. So don't take too much time on them, because you don't want it to lift, because then you'll have another problem to deal with. So after I do this step, I then put her under the dryer for about 20 minutes to completely dry the baby hairs. If you don't have an over the head dryer, then you just use a hair dryer. I'm going in with some Silk Therapy serum. I'm just putting some on my dab in my hand, and then I'm gonna put it on the hairline, and then I'm gonna flat iron the hairline, because it's right now it's a little bit moldy down, and I don't want it to be so moldy like. I want it to be combed out. So I'm gonna use a hot comb and go through it so it slicks it back the way I want. You can get that in the big size. These are just the mini sample sizes that they sell at my local hair store. They ran out of the big one, so I couldn't buy a big one. So I'm just going to custom to always getting these little tiny ones. Also comb out the baby hairs. I'm actually going to go in and pluck these out a lot more, because I feel like they're too thick for the hair, for sure. Because they for me, they would be okay, but for her, she's more natural. So I'm going to pluck them out quite a bit more. I didn't pluck them on camera. I did pluck them off of camera because it's just like plucking, just pluck them out. I just kind of took since they're already molded, I just kind of took the tweezers and plucked out some hairs out of it. But again, if you guys want to see that, then I will do it again. But just let me know in the comments if you do want to see me plucking them out thinner. But to avoid having to do that, you just have to part out less baby hairs, which I didn't do. So if you do what I did and part out too much baby hairs, then you have to go in and pluck them out once it's molded. You can actually do it before you lay it too. Before you even lay the baby hairs, you can go ahead and pluck it out. But I did it after. Either or, doesn't matter. You could do it either way. So I completed one braid. I thought my camera was recording, but it didn't. But that's okay. I'm glad I caught on before I even finished. So you're going to see, then you just braid the other way, on the other side. Honestly, it's just braiding it down. I braided it down. That's all I did. But I'll still show it anyways. And then I'll show you how I take the 2 braids and attach them together and where I lay it. Do you guys see how well that is melted into her skin? Like, it literally looks like her scalp, and I really, really love that for her. But in any case, I just want to show you guys how naturally this lays because of how much plucking was required. A lot of plucking was required for it to look like this. For it to be more natural, a lot of plucking at the hairline is required. Now, keep in mind, the more plucking you do at the hairline, like, the less time you'll have with lace. Basically, you would have to replace your lace faster than if you were to pluck less. But for this style, I wanted it to be a little bit more natural looking at the front, like look more like her hair with the 2 braids, so I plucked it out a lot. So you'll see me just going in and I'm just doing regular braids, not stitching them or anything. I'm just kind of just catching them up into 2 big braids. At the front, just something loose, not too uniform looking, and like as if you were to do your real hair on your, like braid the two front braids on your real hair by yourself. Just something just a little bit more free flowing, you know, not too clean and tight and stuff like that, but at the same time still neat. So after the two braids are braided out, I take the two braids at the back and I just put them together, and I take an elastic band and I just elastic the two pieces together, and that's how I hide it. You can also take the two braids and put them like on the hair. I see, like, you can just attach them at the back of the hair if you like it that way as well, but I just felt like I wanted it not to show on the hair. I just wanted it to be in the back, like just away. So yeah, that's why I did that way. So I also went in and I cut the baby hairs a little bit shorter and I recurled them so that it matched the baby hairs at the top, because they don't want the baby hairs at the sides to be thick and the baby hairs at the top is lighter. So it just all has to match, just look cohesive. So that's why I went in and cut them, and I'm gonna mold them down a little bit later. Now I'm going in to just wet the hair up a little bit. Sometimes I just completely drench the curls in water, which I feel like would make you get like the more defined curl. But I just didn't have time for that. It was getting late and she was gonna go to bed directly after this anyways. So I just kind of took some of the mousse, the same mousse I used earlier, and then I just brushed it out. And it gave me a nice curl that was not too wet, so she didn't have to sit under the dryer, but just a nice curl. Here's a fun fact. This is actually my friend. I've known her for a very long time. And she's also one of my most loyal clients, of course. And she actually sings my intro music. She is a singer and songwriter. You could check her out. I have her information linked below as well for her Instagram and her music on YouTube and TikTok or whatnot. So if you guys liked what you heard, check her out. Her music is such a fire, like it's such a such a bop. So go ahead and check her out, man, and just show her some love. These curls are so pretty, like they are so pretty. And guess what? This wig I actually installed already on a different video, but I just changed the frontal. The frontal needed to be replaced, so I replaced the frontal. But look how nice the wig is still. Like all the curls are still in place. I promise you, this is like a few months old. I will actually still link this wig in the description. It is from, I believe it's from Ali Pearl. I can't remember, but it was quite a while ago. But Ali Pearl, hey, if you want to collab again, let's do it. But I'll link all that information in the description. So I'm cleaning up the part a little bit. I use a jumbo permanent marker to do this. I feel like it just makes it, instead of the spray makes the part look so unrealistic. Like it's just so neat. And like, you want a neat straight part, but it's just too much. Like it doesn't look too realistic for me. So I go in and I just make my own part with a permanent marker, and I feel like it does a better job than the black spray. And I'm just touching up any little, and nothing's there, but I just want to make sure that it's just all cohesive and looks neat. And you'll see me just fixing that last baby hair that I didn't do. To fix it, instead of using mousse again, I just used some holding spray and then blow dried it in place so it stays in the little curl swoop that I had. To also mention, this wig has actually been straightened. She curled it before, and the curls just really reverted back to the curls they were before. So it's a really beautiful wig. I really love it. to finish off the style, I sprayed some Ion Heat Protecting Spray. It has a little sheen to it, so I love it. Got it at Sally's. So this is basically the final look. If you guys enjoyed this tutorial, do not forget to like, subscribe, and share. And let me know in the comments what you guys would like to see. If you have any questions, I answer all the comments. So let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.
I'm on the ground, this ain't child's play. 'Cause I know what I like. You are just what I like. Should I pull up? I just might. Face in the pillow.